Have you ever stopped to wonder what really goes on behind the scenes in HR? I mean, it's so much more than just hiring and firing, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the invisible forces that shape, well, everything, from who gets the job to the actual culture of your company. Let's get into it. So, what do you think shapes your workday? Your boss? The company mission statement on the wall? Sure, that's part of it. But the real story is a constant tug-of-war between these massive external pressures and the unique, sometimes messy, internal dynamics of your organization. It's a battle that's happening every single day, whether you see it or not. And there's actually a name for all this chaos: the HRM environment. The best way to think about it is like this. Your company is a ship, and HR is the captain. The HRM environment is the entire ocean. You've got the powerful currents of the economy, the unpredictable weather of politics, and all these hidden reefs of cultural shifts. The captain's job? To navigate all of it, just to keep the ship and everyone on board safe and headed in the right direction. All right, so first, let's talk about that big, turbulent ocean. Every single organization, I don't care how big or powerful it is being pushed and pulled by massive forces that are completely outside of its control. These are the external pressures. Economics plays a huge role here. The size of the available workforce, for example, directly impacts how easy or hard it is to find a job. When the labor market is tight, that means companies are literally fighting for talent, which is great news for you. And of course, big picture things like national income and inflation, well, they decide whether that salary you're offered can actually pay the bills. And here is a fantastic, real-world example of exactly that. In India, there's a part of an employee's salary called the dearness allowance, and it's legally tied to the cost of living index. So as the price of bread and milk goes up, wages go up too, automatically. It's a perfect illustration of how a huge external economic force, inflation, can directly shape HR policy for millions of people. Next up, you've got the political and legal stuff. These are the non-negotiables, the rules of the game. Governments set the rules for just about everything, from anti-discrimination and equal pay to workplace safety. Companies don't have a choice here. They're legally required to follow these laws, which, as you can imagine, profoundly shapes every single HR practice they have. Okay, so once a company has navigated all those external storms, it has to deal with what's happening on the deck of its own ship. This is the internal environment, and believe me, it adds a whole new layer of complexity to the mix. Inside the company walls, HR has to deal with a few key forces. You've got trade unions, which act as a collective voice for workers, meaning major HR decisions can't just be made from the top down. But maybe the most powerful internal force of all is the organizational culture. The unspoken rules, the shared values. It's the vibe of the company. And this quote about the Tata conglomerate just nails it. Get the best people and set them free. That's it. In just 10 words, you understand their entire philosophy. A culture like this is like a North Star for HR. It means prioritize autonomy, trust your people, and don't you dare micromanage. It's such a simple phrase, but it dictates a super complex web of HR practices. So, what happens when you have these huge external forces pushing in and these complex internal dynamics pushing out? Well, you get the central challenge of modern HR. It's not about finding one single right answer. It's about managing constant, competing demands. It is a high-wire balancing act, and the stakes are enormous. Exactly. The very best HR departments don't see these as either-or problems. They get that their job is to hold two ideas that seem to totally contradict each other and find a way to make them both work at the same time. This is where human resource management stops being a science and really becomes an art form. Okay, take the first paradox, fit versus flexibility. On the one hand, you need HR systems that are perfectly tuned to your company's strategy right now. That's fit. But on the other hand, the world is always changing, right? So you also need systems that are adaptable enough for whatever's coming next. The big question is, how do you build something that's both rock solid and totally fluid at the same time? Then there's commitment versus control. And I want you to think about your own job for a second here. Do you feel more motivated when you're trusted and empowered, or when you're being watched like a hawk? Commitment strategies are all about empowering people, trusting they'll do the right thing. Control strategies are about rules and procedures to make sure they do. The most successful companies, they somehow manage to do both. And finally, we have differentiation versus integration. This is a tough one. How do you reward your star performers and make them feel special without making everybody else feel undervalued? That's differentiation. But at the same time, you have to maintain a sense of fairness and a single cohesive culture for the whole company. It's this constant tension between celebrating individual stars and nurturing the entire team. So you see, all of these forces, all of these tensions, they aren't just academic theories. They're actively shaping the future of work for every single one of us. So let's take a look at what's coming up on the horizon. As the HR expert Dave Milner puts it, this is a moment of massive change and opportunity. All those pressures we've been talking about are forcing the entire field of HR to innovate at a speed we have just never seen before. And you can see this playing out right now with the absolute explosion of hybrid work, which is projected to surge to 81% by 2024. This isn't just a fad. It's a direct response to that demand for more flexibility, that key paradox we were just talking about. Companies are being forced to figure out how to balance the need for collaboration with the desire for autonomy. Now check out this number, 15.4 times billion dollars. That is the projected global market for diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives by 2026. This isn't just about doing the right thing. It's a massive investment being driven by both legal pressures from the outside and the internal need for a fair, integrated culture. Yep, another one of those paradoxes at play. And finally, technology and well-being are absolutely front and center. You've got generative AI helping to automate tasks and personalize the employee experience. People analytics is giving companies the data they need to make smarter choices. And this intense focus on employee well-being, it's a direct response to the modern work environment, all aimed at building a more committed and resilient workforce. So, as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this question. Which of these forces is shaping your career right now? Is it the economy, a new law? Is it your company's culture, or the rise of AI? And maybe more importantly, what are you doing to navigate all these forces and take control of your own path? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for watching.